Hey guys, I hope you're ready for part 2 of my first year graphic design portfolio. So now what we ended off in my previous video in part 1 was oil pastels. I'm going to show you another work I did with oil pastel. I wasn't so fond of it. I was quite annoyed that I was struggling with some detail, especially when it came to fine detail on it. And previous works you saw was also paint and all that. We're going to move on to general drawing and also my figure drawing. So I had, for my first year graphic design, quite a few subjects. It actually consisted of 8 subjects. It was a good start to my graphic design work, because you have to be under pressure, understand that you will be under pressure in real life in order to just perform and get your stuff done. So now let's just move on and get to the work itself. Alright, this is the one oil pastel work I did with a ship in a bottle. A nice illustration. I tried to just bring to life the storm out of the bottle. So as you can see, there's a storm in the bottle, and in the outer space it's more calm, a night, starry night and sky and so on. It's not, I ran out of white, by the way, so I tried to my best with greys and blues and so on. But yeah, let me know what you think of this work. Where could I have gone better? Why did I struggle with trying to make this look like it's supposed to be underwater, especially the anchor? I felt I really struggled with that in my first year, and I ran out of time, but at least I got something on paper for my lecture at the time. And what do you think? And who do you think is the artist that inspired me with the ocean, by the way? If you can guess, it would be quite cool. Think about a storm. A storm. I'm not going to give any hints, but think about the artist that played around with the storms and who illustrated with oil paint a lot the ocean waves and movement with it. Alright, we're going to go into smaller detail with coloring in pencils that I did also. I had to take photos, several texture photos, and then draw that exactly as it is. So I'm first going to show you the coloring pencils, and then we will move on to the pencil graphites and so on. This is a small image I tried to duplicate with water droplets on a glass. At a wedding venue I went to as a bridesmaid. It was a very nice day, but I tried my best. It's really difficult to put in detail to make it look like water droplets. If you know any tricks of the trade, let me know what you can do in order to make this look more like water. If it does look like water to you, then I'm happy. At least I got near to the end image itself. We're going to move on to the next texture image that I went ahead, and at my campus there was this staircase where I took a photo of rusted metal on the staircase, and I tried to duplicate it. And the fine detail, I was on energy drinks throughout the night trying to get this detail going. It took some time, especially with the very let's just say neutral colors within peach tones and warmer tones. It was quite difficult in order to, the pink, for some odd reason my color was really irritating me. The pink tone made it very glossy, I guess, and to work on top of that pink tone, it was really a pain in the butt. But anyhow, we'll move on to the next texture. Now this is one of the tables at my university, and I just took a photo to see also the paint cracking off or the paint coming off of the table. I tried to duplicate it, looking very detailed into the finer touches of the paint itself, and then of course trying to get those silver near greyish tones of the table. These circles were just the outside layers of the table as you look through it. And then we're going to move on to a texture that's quite difficult. Oh my gosh, hair. If any of you guys have ever done hair before, you must know the pain. If it's not anime where you just do your fine outer lines and that's it, and you color that in. Yeah, you have to focus on every strain, try and get that going at 4 o'clock in the morning, and focus on the different tones. It's really difficult when you decide, do you want to go light to dark or dark to light. I prefer going from a darker tone to light, eventually bring that lighter tone in, trying to decide where I want my light to come in. But it's really up to you, however you prefer doing hair. Now the last texture for color, either way, this was just a door I took a photo of that was also cracking with the paint and even the wood itself. So this one I was actually happy about, the first one I finished. So you can see there's a big difference between where you start and where you end. Knowing where you put in more detail here and then you end off by rushing it at 5 o'clock or 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's always better to remember constant effort in all your work. I really enjoy doing the brown tones and then the blue and bringing that up. The blue really makes the brown pop a bit, and either vice versa, the contrast in it. So do explore textures. It makes you see more detail in your work later on. Train your eye to see detail. Alright, now we're going to move on to my graphite texture drawings as well, and they're also detailed. Okay, what I'm going to show you guys now is photos that I took also. Yet again, 5 texture photos, and then I took a normal medium such as pencil, graphite. As you can see, this is the first image I did with some leaves. Each texture, I could have gone darker. I started off light with my first layers, and then eventually I ran out of time with all of them. So I do think that they could have gotten a few more layers in so that you could see the visibility of the leaves more and the shadows more than just have it a bit more grey tone. And that's one thing that I can look at now and see that I could add more layers for future projects. Here are a few more leaves, just a bunch this time, having a different texture, having a different feel. And this one also, I do feel I could have spent more time on darkening certain aspects of it, having the leaves pop up, than just having a grey tone go at it. At the bottom here we have bricks. So bricks are an interesting texture to work on, especially when it comes to a few more lines than leaves. And as you can see, the cracks in the floor and the cracks in the bricks I try to bring up with darker tones, and then lighter the brick itself. This specific one, I can't really recall what was the image I took. I think it must have been of a rusting metal or something outside at our backyard, where I just focused more on the rust itself and the darker areas. And the last one, if you can see that, it's just a wood, if I recall it must have been a wooden step or some kind of wood. I took a photo of cracking as well with the cracks within the wood itself. And as you can see, this one took a bit of time focusing on each detail of the wood itself. Now we're going to move on to another example. One thing we were also taught is that draw what you see, not what you think you see. And so we had to balance chairs on top of the front posing stage in the class, and then try and get that down with some inks, and I used black ink and then also pen ink. Yeah, this is pen now that I remember. And it's quite simple. Some people will say, oh, why a chair? That's so simple. But if you don't understand how to draw a chair, how on earth can you draw something with more perspective than that? So you have to understand line and also contrast in creating a subject to pop off the page. Here's another one where I went home and I just posed my own table. This is a lamp I just posed as well, and I worked around with ink, playing with drawing ink, trying to get some brush strokes using a brush and a normal pen. Ink is actually quite interesting. Trying to get the softer tones, I used a very light brush, especially not to darken it too much when it comes to contrast on a lamp and the reflection of it. Alright, this is another drawing I did with pencil. I hope you can see it so that the graphite doesn't reflect from the lights. It's our own subject matter. We could choose what we wanted to draw, and I love birds. Some of you might see I have a photo of my birdie on my cover for my YouTube channel. But as you can see, I drew this hummingbird flying up. I tried to create smoke. If it doesn't look like smoke, I apologize. Then it might look like more shapes or flowing shapes in the background and creating of the bird. So I was really into something creating the subject matter and trying to formulate smoke. It wasn't working out, so I tried to just focus on shaping the bird. And if this looks like material, then so be it. But yeah, let me know what you think of this as well. Just trying to be creative with my own subject matter. Okay, so what I'm going to show you now is one of my general drawing works as well. And this is an assignment where we were asked to take charcoal, and it's a very dirty medium. Oh, charcoal. But at least it's a quick medium compared to some detailed works like pen. So yeah, we were asked to take a few images that Sir had given us and then put it into a composition that makes it look a bit natural, but yet also is still creative in its own way. So I placed the car in, and then of course I chose the shack and the eagle, and then the road itself. So I had to place this weird looking car, well, in this composition, onto this road and draw everything out. As you can see, it was actually a fun exercise to do, to get me back into charcoal as I used to. I used to work much rougher than in university, where I realized I have to work neat and layer a bit and get the tones a bit better than what I used to. I always had this thing where my style in high school, and I will show you all one day some works I did in high school, where I had this unfinished thing. I was like, I'm the artist, I get to decide when it's done. Yeah, that was my attitude in high school anyhow, but it was my own unique style I was trying to develop at the time. Okay, what I'm going to show you now is something we were told to go home and study, and that was the human anatomy. We had to actually study the muscle structure, the bone structure of the body and the skeleton itself, and eventually understand how to draw the human body even more. I wished at this time I could go to a morgue and actually draw a figure like Leonardo da Vinci did. But anyhow, that sounds a bit psychopathic, but let's not go into that. Focus on the images. Alright, this is the task I tried to do, the muscular system. Now, what I wanted to do in order to be creative is not just do the muscles, but also show a bit like half it up, half the bone structure, as you can see the ribs coming out, and then bring in the muscle structure as well, the muscle system. And as you can see, even the skeleton system comes through a bit. So that's the back view, and this is the front view of the human body that I also did. I hand drew this whole thing. I never traced it or anything. Some students asked my professor at the time, can we trace the skeleton and the human body? And they were like, and so was like, okay. And I was like, isn't that cheating? But anyhow, I went ahead and I drew it exactly as I saw. The skeleton system took me a bit longer, especially when it came to the shadow on each bone, focusing on the rib cage, focusing on the skeleton itself, and every little detail I tried to put in. And then we also had to put in the names of each bone. Now, the next work, it's also part of figure drawing at the time, in my first year, where we were asked to do like a, what was it? It was like a nightmare. As a class, we decided to choose a theme and then have the models pose in front and then put it onto a composition where we create something around it. Now, you guys might have seen this specific character in many DC comic books, guys. So I went with more DC like feel, especially if you know Batman and then the Joker. So I went with the older version type of the Joker than the new Suicide Squad Joker that they changed up. I decided to make him a bit more, let's just say, Terminator vibe. Have him like a cyborg, where his eye is actually a machine, have his hands look like a machine, and have the model, I turned it upside down and have her pose. It's quite scary for some people. I'll have my grandmother say, "This is scary." Anyhow, thank you, Oma, thank you. But and also my girlfriend also was shocked with this image. And also I added another little cyborg on the side here, just to make it a bit more composed with the composition. And as you can see, I put some detail in. The mediums I used at the time was water paint. You can see it's quite cleared up here, it's water paint. And then I added some pen texture with the fine detail. Started on this image. I'm not really going to go in depth. There's not much meaning. It's just a composition I had to quickly draw in class and get that out of the way. Moving on to another image, I had to draw the model that was in front of me and then create another scene. Just like that, I went more of a nightmare kind of route, but something that's a bit weird. Do you guys like toilet paper? Or toilets? If you like a toilet, you have a toilet in your house. Nick, you have a toilet. Now, this is all fine liner. And as you can see, I have the model. I was in this position and I had to draw her as she was. And I changed her up, I put her in a cape. The contrast is a bit... I was still trying to get used to understanding pen and the fine detail to it. So trying to make the contrast, remember you can't erase when you're drawing with pen. So I tried my best as I could at the time, had the cityscape because I was doing it at the time when I was still doing the Joker artwork. So I still was in this DC vibe. If I have any Marvel fans, do not be so critical over this. Just give DC a chance, okay? As you can see, I added some toilets and toilet paper that just like were like bombs or like being thrown around. I don't know, I was being fun. Well, kiddie friendly, if this is kiddie friendly. Don't sit on the toilet though. Except she's sitting on a dead toilet that she crushed. But yeah, it was just something fun, playful, quite scary if that's a toilet brush turning into a weapon. But anyhow, tell me what you think about this. Is it fun? Apparently it can be for kiddies comic books. If you agree, let me know. But if it's more of a just an adult comic book, tell me as well. Would a toilet like this, monster toilets, be for kiddies or for adults? Let me know. Moving on to the final piece. Now this is a final work I did at the end of my first year, where I decided to explore a lot of textures, a lot of different mediums, and try and just lift up the art from the piece of flat platform that I was working on. So I went into a few things. This was for illustration, my last task for my lecturer. I decided to explore etching onto wood that I've never done before, and then explore sculpting plaster Paris onto the wood and soldering, well, using a blowtorch and melting soldering wire onto the work itself as well. So please give it a chance. There's even paint on it and I think a few cookies every now and then. But here we go. This is my final work for my first year for illustration. It's big, it's hard, it's heavy because it's wood. It took about 8 hours to etch into this piece, having the silhouette of my face and the hat that I used to wear a lot when I drew. And I etched into this whole thing, having the galaxy vibe come through. The theme was to show my life, my family tree, show the cresses of my family, my father and my mother, and just symbolically show where I've come from and what is very meaningful to my life. Tell me what you think about this. If you have any questions of the sort, I will try and answer them to my full ability, well, most of my ability. Putting the plaster Paris, I can't remember, you can't glue plaster Paris on wood. So I took a big shot just trying to put wet plaster Paris, sculpting it onto the wood itself. Yeah, this is the metal that I spoke about. I tried to melt some soldering wire onto these metal plates and then glue it down onto the wood piece. Normal paint here. I also, if I recall, I did add a bit of chalk at the time and then might have varnished it, but I did a lot of things. So I did play around, and these are feathers that I also etched into the wood. It took some time. I think I hurt myself quite a bit, and due to my amateur style of etching at the time, I wasn't so smooth when it came to this, so I decided, let me put in this space. Sometimes you have to think of things in order to take away a mistake that you find irritating. Like, I painted this whole background white and you could see the edges, like the etching wasn't so smooth. So I ended up just making it a bit darker and then putting in space so that the illusion helps to make it look a bit better. And it takes a bit of time to see even the feathers on the work. So tell me what you think. What's your favorite piece or work that I've done so far, and just leave any comments below. I hope you like the work I've done, and I still have a lot of other work for my first year, especially in the digital aspect of it and photography. It's just I felt I don't have enough time to show you everything. I just wanted to show you the proudest works that I am actually proud of and willing to show the world. Please leave a comment. I need to interact with you guys. I want to know what you think. I really want to know, and I want to help you. If you are into art, if you love something that's creative, love doing crafts, love doing any mediums, working on mediums, if you want to one day see what I've soldered on wood and burnt onto wood, stay tuned for my second year work, because you're going to be surprised what I've done as well in my second year. For now, I hope you enjoyed my first year graphic design portfolio. Please subscribe if you haven't, and like this video if you do enjoy what you see, and stay tuned for the next videos. Part 2, is completed now. Second year will come as well, and then my third year is almost completed, so I'm going to show you also a bit of what I've done in my third year so far. Thank you for watching so far. If I still have your attention, I'm amazed. But yeah, have an awesome day and good luck with anything you're busy with and any challenges, and I wish you all the best. Be blessed, guys. Stay blessed, and I love you all. Bye.